In the heart of Texas, billionaire Arthur Braxton lived a life of unimaginable luxury. His mansion was a monument to his success, but inside, his heart was as cold as the marble floors. He ruled his home with an iron fist, and his staff knew that even the smallest mistake could cost them their job. One of those staff members was Sarah, a kind-hearted housekeeper who had served the Braxton family for over a decade. Sarah wasn't just an employee. She was part of the house's soul, her warm presence a stark contrast to Arthur's chilling demeanor. She had watched his children grow, tended to his late wife with gentle care, and always had a quiet smile for everyone. One Tuesday morning, Arthur was hosting an important luncheon for potential investors. Everything had to be perfect, the silver polished, the crystal gleaming, and the table set with military precision. As the guests arrived, Arthur surveyed the dining room, his sharp eyes scanning for any imperfection. That's when he saw it. A single, almost invisible water spot on one of the wine glasses. It was a tiny flaw, one that most people would never notice. But to Arthur, it was a glaring sign of incompetence. His face hardened. He immediately summoned Sarah. He didn't speak. He simply pointed a trembling finger at the glass. Sarah's face paled. She saw the minuscule spot, and her heart sank. "Mr. Braxton, I am so sorry," she began, her voice barely a whisper. "I checked everything twice. I don't know how I missed." But Arthur cut her off. His voice was low and venomous. "You're fired, Sarah," he hissed, making sure the guests couldn't hear. "Pack your things and be out of my house within the hour." Sarah stood frozen, tears welling in her eyes. A decade of loyal service, erased by a single drop of water. She simply nodded, turned, and walked away. Her dignity the only thing she had left. That night, a storm raged outside, mirroring the one in Arthur's mind. The business deal had been a success, yet he felt no joy. The house was silent, eerily so. Sarah's absence was a palpable void. He wandered into his study, the room she always kept so meticulously clean. On his desk, next to a framed photo of his late wife, Eleanor, was a small, sealed envelope. His name was written on it, in Sarah's familiar, neat handwriting. Curiosity mixed with a flicker of irritation. It tore it open. Inside was not a letter of complaint, but a single, folded piece of paper. It was a recipe. A handwritten recipe for Eleanor's favorite lemon pound cake. Below the ingredients, Sarah had written a short note. "Mr. Braxton," it read, "I found this tucked away in one of Mrs. Braxton's old cookbooks. I remember how much she loved it, and how she used to say it always made you smile. I was planning to bake it for you this evening as a surprise. I hope it brings you a happy memory. Sincerely, Sarah." The paper trembled in Arthur's hand. He remembered Eleanor, her laughter filling the kitchen as she baked that very cake, a smudge of flour on her nose. He remembered how she'd said that life, like a good cake, didn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. A wave of shame, so powerful it buckled his knees, washed over him. The water spot, the business deal, the mansion, it all meant nothing. In his pursuit of perfection, he had driven away the last person who truly cared, the last link to his wife's memory and warmth. He looked at the photos of Eleanor, her smiling eyes seeming to judge him. What had he become? The man she loved would never have been so cruel, so petty. He was a monster, living in a gilded cage of his own making. That night haunted Arthur. Sleep offered no escape. His dreams filled with Eleanor's disappointed face and Sarah's quiet, dignified tears. The next morning, he looked like a ghost. He canceled all his meetings. There was only one thing he had to do. He got Sarah's address from his records and drove his luxury car to a modest, quiet neighborhood he'd never seen before. He found her small, tidy house and walked to the front door, his heart pounding like a drum. He felt more nervous now than he ever had in any boardroom. He knocked. The door opened, and there was Sarah. Her eyes widened in surprise, but there was no anger in them, only a weary sadness. "Mr. Braxton," she said softly. Arthur couldn't find his voice. The words he had rehearsed vanished. "Sarah," he finally choked out, his voice thick with emotion. I was wrong. I am so sorry. What I did was unforgivable. Primera, me toas, if you would consider coming back. Not as my housekeeper, but as a friend of the family. The house isn't a home without you. Tears streamed down Arthur's face, the first he had shed since his wife's passing. Sarah looked at this broken billionaire, a man stripped of his pride, and she saw not her boss, but a lonely, grieving husband. A small, gentle smile touched her lips. She didn't give him an answer right away. Instead, she said, "Why don't you come in, Arthur?" I was just about to put a kettle on in that moment. Arthur Braxton learned the most valuable lesson of his life. He learned that wealth is not measured in dollars, but in kindness. That perfection is an illusion, but compassion is real. And that sometimes the biggest mistakes aren't the ones we see on a wine glass, but the ones we make in our hearts. He never forgot that night, the night a simple act of kindness from a woman he had wronged began to heal a wound he never knew he had. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content that touches the heart. See you next time.